been hearing your frustrations, and I would love for you to share them with the community right now, because you and so many others are going through such a rough time. How was last night?
Scary. I live in the high-rise right back here, and I seen them as they came down Lake Street. But then they turned and started coming over here, and I'm sitting out looking out my window. And they went straight to Office Max, the dollar store, and every store over here that I go to. I have nowhere to go now. I have no way to get there because the buses aren't running. These people did this for no reason. It's not going to bring George back here. George is in a better place than we are. Last night, I'm going to be honest, I wish I was where George was, because this is ridiculous. These people are tearing up our livelihood. This is the only place I could go to shop. And now I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anywhere to get there.
Be prepared for chaos and destruction, because once again, Democrats and the radicals are talking. They're talking in the streets once again. It appears that the summer of love is back. Peaceful protest, riots, and destruction in the streets. Yes, in 2025, 2.0, the summer of love. That insane bullet that we dodged in 2024 had her 2 cents thrown into this conversation. You don't remember Kamala Harris? Here's a video to remind you of exactly what we dodged in 2024.
Thank you so much for everything you do for high schools. I was scared every day.
So here's the thing. You're right to feel that way, but you also have to remember that we're all in this together, okay? And you always have to remember that you're not alone. Do you hear me? You always have to remember that, okay? And
I just don't want to die.
no, baby, you're not gonna die. You're not. And we're gonna be smart, and we're gonna fight. We are gonna win, and we're gonna take on the people who are just failing to have courage. Okay, we're gonna do this. All right, we're up for this fight. You remember that, yes? You remember, and also remember something. It's a sign of strength. No, wait, listen to me. It's a sign of strength to have emotion. So never apologize for having emotions either. You understand me?
Hello, friend, and welcome to The Conservative Poet. My name is Amania. Here on the channel, we do political reactions, we do a little commentary, some parody to drive home the crazies that we're seeing in the society. If that is something that is interesting to you, then please stick around. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
It appears that the country is on fire once again. It is now in California. As you all probably know, the streets are on fire in California. And that means destruction, burning of businesses, looting, rioting, all kinds of craziness and foolishness. But our president, Donald J. Trump, is not letting this go by the way that it did back in the day. He is taking action to prevent the destruction of billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in property damages in our communities. So, we're going to take a look at what's happening out there in these areas in California. But what I really want to talk about in this video is Kamala Harris, who has come out here to put her 2 cents into what's happening. Her office, the office of Kamala Harris, has presented a statement, and we're going to read about it. But I also want us to just take a moment to remember who Kamala Harris is and the role that she played in the destruction of our communities in 2020, when she gave money to bail out these people that were burning the neighborhoods, burning the streets, causing chaos in the streets. Yes, Kamala Harris, the bullet that we dodged in 2024.
It's really important to note that they sent these law enforcement officers into cities wearing camouflage. Camouflage. We send folks into war wearing camouflage so they can blend into the environment to ensure their safety as they are deployed on a mission that is in our national interest. So what is going on here? When you send camouflage uniformed officers into a city without any clear identification to direct their force at peaceful protesters. There is clearly an abandonment of mission, not only by the Department of Homeland Security when doing that, but clearly by the President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Huh? What you say?
Thank you, everyone who has been supporting the conservative poet. I owe you a debt of gratitude. And if you haven't supported the channel, you can do so now. We have new merch that you can purchase, candles, mugs, all kinds of great merch. Please visit theorlandopatriot.com and get yourself 30% off. Thank you so much.
So here is what ex-Vice President Kamala Harris and her office decided to put out here in reference to how she support the disruption that's going currently in California. Now, we know that they support these things. We know that they do that because they've always done that. They supported the riots when it came to the Supreme Court justices. They support the riots of George Floyd in the Summer of Love and the burning and destruction of this country. They supported the riots where school campuses were being taken over, Palestine riots, Gaza riots. They support all of these destructions. So why would we not expect her to be behind the protesters as opposed to being behind President Trump and his efforts to dissolve the conflict by sending in troops to neutralize the situation? But no, this is what Kamala Harris and her team has put out. The office of Kamala Harris. Los Angeles is my home. And like so many Americans, I am appalled at what we are witnessing on the streets of our city. Deploying the National Guard is a dangerous escalation meant to provoke chaos. In addition to the recent ICE raids in Southern California and across our nation, it is part of the Trump administration's cruel and calculated agenda to spread panic and division. This administration's actions are not about public safety. They're about stoking fear of a community demanding dignity and due process. Protest is a powerful tool, essential in the fight for justice. And as the LAPD mayor and governor have noted, demonstrations in defense of our immigrant neighbors have been overwhelmingly peaceful. I continue to support millions of Americans who are standing up to protect our most fundamental rights and freedoms. The office of Kamala Harris.
Let me say something. We are 6 days out of an election. We are 6 days away from an election. And ours is about a fight for democracy and your right to be heard. Look, everybody has a right to be heard, but right now I am speaking.
Blah, 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 blah. It appears that nobody cares what you have to say.
We are fighting for America's future. And we understand the opportunity we have before us to turn the page on the fear
It do appear, Kamala Harris and the Democrats, that the American people are turning the page on you and your lunatic Democrat policies. These people are not fighting for democracy. These people are unhinged lunatics that we see in these streets. If you don't believe me, take a quick look at this, because these are the same people that are on the streets that's causing chaos and destruction. They cannot handle their emotions, right? They can't handle the truth of anything, and so therefore they move in violence and emotional destruction.
You sorry cocksucking sons of a bitches that think that you're just gonna go and fucking arrest a bunch of protesters because they're out there doing something you're too afraid to fucking do. They're out there fighting for our freedom, and they're out there fighting for our right for free speech, cause fuck you, all 2,000 of you fucking National Guardsmen, you brave ass fucking soldiers. You think you're gonna march in those streets and tell those people to shut the fuck up? That is what you decided to fight for. You chose to defend us against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and you fucking failed. And that's why they're out there on those streets. So who the fuck are you to tell them to shut the fuck up? Why don't you grow a pair, take off your mask, and tell me your fucking name? Because my name is Alex, and I say fuck you!
While the battle between Russia and Ukraine rages on here in the U.S. at this hour, President Trump has ordered 2,000 National Guard troops to the streets of Los Angeles after major clashes over immigration raids. President Trump taking the extraordinary step of bypassing California's governor and calling up the Guard, the first time a president has bypassed a state governor since 1965. Trevor Ault is in Los Angeles with the latest.
Overnight, as clashes around Los Angeles intensify, President Trump stepping in, ordering 2,000 National Guardsmen to Southern California, with angry crowds protesting his administration's aggressive deportation efforts. Those National Guard troops arriving in Los Angeles County this morning. It follows 3 consecutive days of demonstrations after coordinated ICE operations across the city, sparking outrage and devolving into disarray.
They shooting tear gas and blanks? Why aren't they shooting real bullets? Because, Amania, it wouldn't be proper. It just wouldn't be proper.
So these are federal law enforcement officers that are carrying this out. As we see one more person, that person being dragged across the street for a moment there, being arrested.
But we want to remind folks that viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, yeah. So we're starting to see some of these people being detained by what appears to be federal law enforcement at this point. We believe that these are Border Patrol police that are on scene.
So you've seen that President Trump has taken the initiative as chief, right? As commander-in-chief to protect California, even though woke Governor Newsom isn't doing anything. So President Trump's role is to protect the United States of America, and that includes California. So he has let the troops out so that they can do what needs to be done to protect the streets and to protect the people. Because at the end of the day, the destruction that's going to be caused is going to cause to those people that lives in those communities hardship. They won't be able to get to their medication because the place is probably burnt down. They won't be able to get to where they need to go because the streets is in chaos. President Trump is bringing back law and order by putting the troops there to get these people off the streets. You know, I made a joke earlier in reference to why is it that they're only sending out tear gas and fake bullets. You know, I don't know if I'm really making such jokes at this point, because at some point people need to learn lessons that you need to get yourself up off these streets. We need to stop doing this, behaving like children in this way. This is not peaceful protest. This is not what's going on. They're literally causing destruction in the streets. So drag them off to jail. And I mean jail, prison, whatever it takes, so people can start to learn, hey, you know what? I'm not going to get involved in this. I'm not going to do this because I'm not going to pay the consequence of ending up in prison. They need to start making examples of these people so that this can come to an end. We saw it all in 2020, and we don't need this again. Millions and billions of dollars in destruction. For what? For absolutely no reason. They're literally protesting we removing illegals and criminals out of the interior. Of course they would support that because probably the majority of them out there are criminals. Who knows? But I'm going to leave you with a video that showcased everything that went on in 2020 and how Kamala Harris and her administration, along with Joe Biden, did nothing. How they flamed the fires and made these people continue to go out here and do this. So, without further ado, here is Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Friends, my new ebook, Understanding Wokeness, which is a guide to understanding woke words such as cisgender, tokenism, BIPOC, and so many more. I decided to dive into these words so I could understand them, and now I've brought that to you. So you can download it for free at understandingwokeness.com. Okay? Understandingwokeness.com.
Democracy was attacked.
Democracy came under assault.
And that you and I and the whole world saw with our own eyes. Rioters rampaging. A mob breaking windows, kicking in doors,
People were seen looting some of its stores in the area.
Fire extinguishers being thrown.
New video shows a woman in a wheelchair punched and sprayed with a fire extinguisher. Shots were reportedly fired, and one person was hit by a car. And now the protests spreading to more cities across the country, in Los Angeles and in Denver, including New York City, where police arrested at least 40 people.
What they were assaulting were the institutions, the values, the ideals.
Fuck you, motherfucker, and fuck you.
That generations of Americans have marched, picketed, and shed blood to establish and defend.
This is mostly a protest.
That's like 5-story tall building right there that's completely engulfed. Yes, now Wendy's is on fire, y'all.
More than 30 fires were set the previous night, destroying that 3rd police precinct and businesses.
Dousing the flames, trying to save the rest of these businesses from going up in smoke.
We went to KB Bala's restaurant. Looters had broken windows and even tried to steal his safe while he was there. Today he watched as his life savings and dreams literally went up in smoke.
Minnesota's governor says the state has seen 48 hours of anarchy.
The lawlessness, the violence, the chaos.
The nation's capital under siege.
By some radical faction that may be newly resurgent, but whose roots run old and deep.
As night fell, the mood got angrier.
So we're now seeing spot fires and looting in a number of businesses being broken into. Everything is destroyed or vandalized, windows broken. They are forming a wall in front of the White House.
In the streets surrounding the White House, with no sense of any attempt at de-escalation, there was anarchy, with shops and vehicles vandalized at will. Hard to imagine these were scenes playing out in the American capital.
Are we going to be a nation that accepts political violence as a norm?
We all saw what our nation would look like if the forces who seek to dismantle our democracy are successful.
Outside the White House, protesters faced off against police dressed in riot gear and Secret Service.
You can't obey the law only when it's convenient.
You see, the strength of democracy is the rule of law.
On this day of remembrance, we must make sure that such attack never happens again.
Thank you so much for taking the time and watching this full video. Now, comment, share, like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. What did you think about this video? What do you think about Kamala Harris and her statement? What do you think about what's going on in California? Are we really headed for another summer of love across this country? Talk to me in the comments. I'll see you there.